saying they will have to move all the tricycle operators out since they appear not to be organized. They don't have one mouthpiece. They don't have one leadership. So if they move all of them out, then later they will sit down with them and issue stickers to few of them who will be able to have access within the central business district.
So Ibrahim, for the restrictions on the other road users, the other transport operators away from the tricycle operators, how significant is that in the culture or the setting of the Kumasi Central Business District?
Well, you know, Crosby, if you go anytime, you know, even the issue of congestion, personally, it is not only the vehicles, because anytime you were able to drive freely within the central business district, talk about Edum, KJTR, and Dr. Mensah, those are the times maybe decongestion exercise have been conducted to move traders who have occupied the pavement and sides of the road. Usually around those times you are able to move. Then we have this new canker. As we speak, KMA has been able to identify 12 illegal stations that have been created within the CBD. So if those are able to move out, then we may have the free movement of vehicles and also even humans within the central business district. You know, people are used to picking vehicles to that place, short, that's how they call it. So most of them are not in any part of the union, so they cannot be identified. That's how Camp KMA says it is engaging with leadership. It will try and take their data, give out stickers to only people who will be allowed access within the central business district. Then we will have a situation where we wouldn't have more vehicles in the central business district, but less of them coming in to either pick or drop passengers.
Ibrahim, thank you so much. But for the other users of the central business district who are not, you know, transport operators, we're talking about pedestrians, traders, and, you know, buyers, sellers, and all of that. How are they reacting to all of this new arrangement that is coming into the business district?
Well, most of them are happy with it. For them, anything that will decongest the central business is something that people have been bashing KMA for a long time. That is what they expect to see the authorities doing. But they also have questions of sustainability. Usually we have these exercises being conducted, we spend monies to do it, but after a month or two, then we have all these people coming back to the CBD. So the issue of sustainability is very key, and that is what we are trying to find out from KMA. And they are telling us that this time around, they will make sure that the city guards, the police officers will all do their job effectively so that we wouldn't have these people coming back to create congestion within the CBD.
Ibrahim, always a pleasure talking to you. Ibrahim Abubakar is our Ashanti regional correspondent there. Let's now bring you back to the capital, Accra, and do some news on politics. As the chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Nsidu Nketia, says the Council of State has departed from its original mandate of advising the president on matters of national interest, making reference to the appointment of 3 members of the governing board of the Electoral Commission. Nsidu Nketia said the council's reasons giving to the NDC after it petitioned its marks of disappointment. You remember the appointment from the president of 2 individuals onto the board of the Electoral Commission generated a lot of conversation with a lot of resistance over some political affiliations of these 2 individuals. Well, the chairman of the NDC, Johnson Nsidu Nketia, has been reacting to that.
The whip that broke the camel's back, honestly, was a letter written in response of the National Democratic Congress's query to the council as to whether they did any background checks before advising the president to appoint the last batch of electoral commissioners. And their response was quite shocking, that as for them, as a council. All they do when appointment is proposed to them is that they take the CV of that person and compare it with the requirements of the job. And if it meets the requirements, they recommend its approval. It tells you that they are not interested in any background checks.
Last on IPAC, have you made the U-turn? I met Peter McBain, who says that you have returned to IPAC and now you're contributing to deliberations there.
Well, I'm here to learn about that. I don't know which IPAC he's talking about. We haven't returned to IPAC. It remains the same because we will not be engaged in any useless activity. IPAC was established for a purpose. Indeed, the way the Council of State has acted, if I were a member of the Council of State, I'll stop attending Council of State meetings. Because what are you going to do? Who cannot compare the presidency? Don't they have the capacity to compare CVs with requirements of a job? Why should it take a council to go and sit there? If I were a member, I would stop attending meetings. Mind the same way, the Electoral Commission. We established IPAC for a purpose, to generate consensus over certain electoral rules in this country. If that institution has departed from consensus building into something else, anybody who goes there will be wasting his or her time.
Well, still in the arena of politics, and flag bearer hopeful of the NPP, Kwabena Agyapong, has called on the president to intervene in the use of heads of public institutions for political campaigns. Kwabena Agyapong, in reacting to President Akufo-Addo saying that he has no favorite in the presidential race, says it is evidently clear that others are being favored.
Action speaks louder than words. The optics have created a different impression.
What's the impression?
When you have a lot of president's appointees, not ministers. Ministers are political, so they can do what they want to do, but public officers like the managing director of Bui Dam, or like the managing director of State Transport Corporation, or the director general of Ghana Lotteries, any of the public institutes, State Housing Corporation, the managing director. These are public officers who should respect the rules of corporate governance. You are put in place, you work for Ghana. It's a political appointment, we accept that. You can support people quietly, but outwardly, leaving your job and joining the campaign trail, I think is unacceptable. It goes for me against governance procedures. And I think that if you were a political appointee, what the president could have done was either ask the chief of staff to rein them in. Because that is what is creating that impression. It's not, coming out of nowhere. Sometimes it's what you communicate to the people, the optics that generate a certain perception. So for me, he's in charge, he can take the actions, and he can issue a directive, don't do this, don't do that, and they wouldn't do it. And nobody will be able to say he's supporting A or B. Let's do things that don't send the wrong precedents for the future of our country.
Let's engage with a political analyst on the back of this and speak with Dr. Asah Asante, who is a political scientist at the University of Ghana. Doc, thank you so much for joining us on Midday Live. The political season is here again with us. The NPP particularly, it is heating up its campaign for its internal elections, the flag bearer race. And it appears we're likely to see a lot of crisscrossing, a lot of support being thrown at candidates and for candidates. For Kwabena Agyapong, two things here. We're looking at the issue of governance and the issue of politics for the aspirants themselves. From where you sit, what do you make out of the two issues that he brought up?
I think Mr. Agyapong was apt on the issue. What he talks about that if you are, a head of an institution, a public officer, there's no point you being part of active politics. It is contrary to the rules of the game. And so I support his call that the president must rein them in so that they stay away from that, direct political affairs. It doesn't bode well for democracy and for good governance, and then, the rest of them. When this thing is encouraged, you incur the wrath of voters and well-meaning people within the party, and it will go against whichever candidate that he may be supporting in court. All right. So it is in the interest of the Mr. President to come out and then make it, rein them in that, hey, nobody should cross the line. If you're a public officer, you are a CEO, you are this, you are not supposed to do ABC. And then once they shy away, then we know that gradually we are getting an equal playing field for everybody. What Mr. Ejapong is saying is nothing but the truth. It must be adhered to if you want to create the enabling environment for everybody to contest. And at the end of the day, you want the loser to accept their loss, and then winners will also be congratulated that they've gone through a process which is free from any contradictions whatsoever.
So, Doc, again, looking at this and coming on the back of the recent comment from the president that he has no preferred candidate in the flag bearer race of the NPP, if until this is done, until the president, intervening and aligning the government appointees to state institutions, until that is done, where do we find the balance between whether a candidate is being favored or not and the officers themselves sticking to their various offices to do the work that the state has put in charge of them?
We are seeing it. One means by which we are able to see this is what Mr. Ejapong has pointed out, that you have CEOs, you have public corporation officers and public officers who are taking up responsibilities in direct political arena. And that is an aberration, it's an affront to governance. So that must be clear. Two, you see anytime the vice president is moving out, you see a whole lot of people who find themselves in this, some of them find themselves in this category we are talking about. And so all these things must stop. And then that is why we are asking the president that, yes, it is not enough for the president to say that, yes, I am not part of anything, I don't support anybody. Yes, it's heartwarming, but that he needs to go further to this. And the further to this is that you ask that anybody who is with who is a public officer, you are not required to do this or that. Once you are able to rein them in, then people will begin to believe that the president is walking the talk. Otherwise, it will going to remain as a mere talk, and then the perception will be there. And that perception is what will kick against whoever the people believe that is the president candidate. They are going to vote against that person because they will say that, yes, a vote for that person is a vote for the president. But is it the case that we are talking about? Or is it what the president wants? I'm not sure that's what the president wants.
Right.
So I believe that the time is now for the president to act and act swiftly on the second call that Mr. Ejapong is asking for. It's a good call.
Doc, briefly before you take leave of us, away from the political lenses we're seeing this thing, in the issue of governance, these people are contributing to the running of the country. It appears that they are leaving their duties as heads of very important state institutions to do politics. How does that affect the running of the country?
Obviously, this is going to affect the fortunes of this country. We are in difficult times, so we expect all hands on deck so that people will do the needful and do their duty for which they have been assigned. So if you leave your office and follow for campaign trails and support one candidate or another, leaving your office, and that is not good enough. I expect the president to also crack the whip on those who do that, if we are to save the little coins that we have in the system to support our cause, now that we are in the hands of IMF.
Dr. Asante, thank you so much for joining us with those insights. Dr. Asante is a political analyst with the University of Ghana. Now, still in politics, flag bearer hopeful of the New Patriotic Party, Engineer Kwabena Agyapong, is advocating for the redevelopment of the central business districts in Accra instead of the construction of new housing projects. The former General Secretary of the NPP was reacting to government's groundbreaking of the new affordable housing projects at Pokuase.
We love new projects in this country. I don't know whether it is the procurement opportunities that it provides, but we don't have a culture of maintenance. So have we maintained what we have? Are we maintaining it well? You go around the country, you see a lot of houses in very poor state. They belong to State Housing Corporation. And even perhaps the optimization of the real estate maybe they have to be demolished, and new ones, we have to go vertical. You know, I do believe that the central business district, where most of the business in this Accra, the capital, happens, people are traveling too far away, and we can redevelop the inner city. I mean, the areas around Nima, the areas around Newtown, Adabraka, Osu, there are a lot of gaps that government can take a critical, tax the architects, the engineers, the planners, the surveyors, put them to work. Let them provide you a solution. They can. They have the mental capacity to do so. Whose decision, on whose advice was Saglemi placed where it is? 5,000 units in the middle of nowhere. You only do that when you have targeted some economic activity there. Bukwasi is reasonably far from Accra, so you're going to get people now commuting again in the traffic. So it's something that I worry about when there's a lot of space in Accra.
Away from the political arena to some labor-related issues, and organized labor is convening an emergency meeting on the new domestic debt exchange program offered by the Finance Ministry. Discussions among labor are to focus on whether they will agree to the new offer or project it. Joining us in the studio is Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. My first question to you is, what informed the decision by organized labor to propose a new deal?
Well, if you could recall, the position of Labour has not changed actually, where they have been talking about rejecting the proposal by government for government not to use their pension funds. Consistently, they have been engaged. The last meeting they had, the memorandum says that there should be a continuous engagement with government. Now, the last meeting also looked at the need for government to present something new, which Labour rejected. Right. This afternoon, they are meeting again, where government has been able to review the entire structure and is the table before them. And when you look at the content of the new document, basically it's talking about all those bondholders or labor unions who will join who will enroll onto the scheme are likely to benefit from a 2% interest payment. And also the extension date has been given. They have up to the 18th of August to be able to roll onto the new deal proposed by government. And once again, the maturity date for all bondholders, especially the labor union, should be between 2027 and 2028. That's when government will be able to do the payment for each and every labor union. So for them, they look at the entirety of the document. This afternoon, all of them are meeting to peruse and see whether they are going to reject once again or they are going to accept the newly proposed by government.
But from the information you're picking in the corridors, the engagement amongst labor itself and then from government, do you think it is something they're likely to accept?
Right. Let's take from here. The last meeting they had, when you look at their body language, indeed they were ready to accept the new deal that government is proposing. So this afternoon they're likely to accept that because out of that previous meeting, they were able to set up a technical committee where the technical committee looked at the entire document and they are sending a brief. And the snippet of information that we have been able to pick is that Labour is likely to accept the new deal, and they have up to the 18th of August to be able to give in their pension funds. Well, if they are able to do that, then clearly it means that the whole document has been accepted and Labour will be fine.
Worst case scenario, if things do not go the way we expect it to go and an acceptance and agreement is not reached, what could be some changes we could see?
Well, currently, Civil and Local Government Staff Association is already accepted the new deal. The previous meeting they had, they were able to agree on that. Except some few unions which have not been able to agree to the by close of day today, there should be a review position by some of the labor union for them to also be on the new deal. Now, if they don't accept the new deal, then clearly government will not be able to use their pension funds. That will go to re-emphasize their previous position that government should not touch our pension funds. But we don't see that happening this time because they've had their background discussions, consultations have gone on, and obviously Labour is likely to review position, also accept the new deal.
Daniel, thank you so much. Daniel Opoku is our Labour correspondent there. Now, findings by the Centre for Democratic Development, CDD, show 3 metropolitan assemblies and 20 municipalities monitored performed poorly on the provision of social services, including education and health. A researcher at CDD, Gilfred Siama, said all interventions put in place by government to improve quality of life in the cities are not helping.
The Ghana Cities Monitor (GCM) tracks experiences of citizens residing in some cities. The GCM aims to provide strong evidence to inform policy advocacy on governance and service delivery in cities and to contribute to research on urbanization and the quality of development. The research covered 20 municipal assemblies and metropolitan areas including Kumasi, Accra and Tamale. A researcher at CDD, Gilfred Isiama, said the municipality with the highest score in terms of social services had below 13%.
These are issues of critical concern within our city spaces. Another issue is that when you compare the cities in the south, cities in Greater Accra and Kumasi compared with cities in the northern region, we realize that the cities in the northern region didn't perform quite well. So over the years, government has been implementing so many policies to ensure that we bridge the gap between the north. But in terms of the quality of life, from what we did, we realized that the quality of life is low over there.
An associate professor at the University of Ghana, Abdullahi Abdul Ghaffar, said the inequalities between the north and the south are too wide.
Historical spatial inequalities, the long-standing north-south divide that we have kind of like attempted addressing through various development initiatives, but which have persisted. We've all heard of programs like SADA, Northern Development Authority, and so on and so forth. But we can see very clearly in the findings that have just been presented that not much progress has been made in.
Now, a program specialist, gender and human rights, and head of the gender unit at the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA Ghana, Dr. Doris Mawusi Agbolache, has reacted to TV3's documentary, My Period is Not a Shame, after it was premiered on The Assignment. She stressed the need for more action to get stakeholders to act to avoid period poverty in the country.
The reality in what I saw in the documentary, My Period is Not a Shame, is what is happening in most parts of the country, of which we all really need to do something. And I'm glad that you have taken this up as the media, because you are our mouthpiece, right? A girl experiencing this in the remotest area of Ghana cannot and will not be able to do anything about it until you bring out the stories to the hearing of policymakers, to the hearing of the Ghanaian populace, to enable all of us to join hands. There's nothing that poor girl or that woman can do about it.
My Period is Not a Shame, a documentary put together by Godwin Asideba, highlights girls who use anything to conceal their monthly cycle. Period pain is a tough one for women who experience it and yet unable to access menstrual hygiene products, making life unbearable for them.
My mother don't have such money for me every month to always be giving me to go and buy pad. Sometimes when I buy 1 month, I'll use it. Maybe it will leave me with only 2. So I have to buy the next month, but there is no less money for me to buy. So I have to use rack.
Head at the gender unit at the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA Ghana, Dr. Doris Mawusi Agbolache, is aware of the unsafe practices by some girls due to lack of sanitary pads. She called on duty bearers to take action and ensure period poverty and stigma is curtailed.
We really need awareness creation, education, and it should be targeted ones. Do you get me? Work with cultural leaders. We have some myth around it. And I would say that this myth is so much also embedded in our cultural beliefs, so much so that we also need, for example, to work with cultural leaders. We need to work with our traditional leaders. Look, today we will be saying, no, it's not that, but it is a fact that in our traditional system, if a woman is in her menstruation, she's considered unclean.
Menstruation is a special time in every girl's life, a reason why it is important to address the challenges surrounding it. Godwin Asideba, TV3 News.
Now to some news coming from Parliament. The minority has threatened that a future NDC government will drag the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, to court for financial breaches as the Bank of Ghana announces huge losses. Ranking member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, Isaac Adongo, says Dr. Ernest Addison is not fit for the job.
You see, Bank of Ghana is not somebody's insurance company. It is not the same as Fidelity Bank or other financial institutions that you can bulldoze your way and write off. These are public funds. They must come to Parliament by a resolution of a simple majority. And the resolution must state the amount involved. It must state how much is written off. So I want to ask Deloitte and Touche, the auditors of Bank of Ghana, whether they saw any resolution from the Parliament of Ghana authorizing the write-off of 32 billion. And on the basis of which they approved the accounts and expressed the opinion that they expressed on the account. When you are auditing an institution, particularly a public institution, you need to be conversant with all its legal obligations. Dr. Addison, you have put a lot of ropes around your neck. We only need to pull it. When I told him that Bank of Ghana, you don't even have dollars, so how can you have rates? Abochi has the dollar. Not knowing they were secretly using the Abochi rate. And then publishing fake rates to us. How come your city was so stable and so strong that you suffered such a high rate of exchange loss? You, the man who's supposed to manage the exchange rate. You told all of us that the exchange rate is at a certain figure, making you one of the best managers of the exchange rate. Now go and prepare your accounts. So I lied. The exchange rate was very high. As a result of that, I suffered some exchange losses. Are we serious? Do we look like we are serious? So which exchange rate was he publishing? But you see, you need to understand the enormity of this when you situate it within the mandate of the Bank of Ghana.
Now, Parliament is expected to rise after 2 months of sitting. My colleague Komla Kluche, our parliamentary correspondent, joins me for more. Komla, thank you for joining us on Midday Live. What business is the House expected to deal with today before rising?
Quite a lot. I mean, if you look at what it is typical of the last days, these are days that are absolutely, you have a lot of loans, committee approvals, especially from the Finance Committee, would come to the floor. Just a short while ago, the Finance Committee had difficulty in trying to get through a $52 million US dollar International Fund for Agricultural Development for the amount of $52 million US dollars, which the minority describe as basically capacity building facility. They try to have difficulty in getting that to go through. In fact, the debate really ensued. The chairman of the committee presented the report. There was the argument, the debate over it, but there was difficulty in the speaker putting the question because the minority sharply disagreed for how this money would be used. In the principles of it, they are not against it, but the fact that the allocation of about 52 million is going for capacity building, essentially in the words of the minority, they are against it. And so the speaker had difficulty in trying to put the question. There was also another loan facility that the report was read by the chairman of the Finance Committee, but the minority again said that this has been an ambush, they were actually not informed of this. They raised issues, fundamental issues about the loan, and so it should go back to the finance committee for further work.
So, Komla, for this session of Parliament, what has been some of the other major highlights of this meeting?
I think that the witchcraft bill, which the House passed, also the issue of the abolishment of the death penalty to a very large extent, and also for the very first time we have seen some major work that has been done on the anti-LGBT bill. That primarily, I would say, that has been a major issue. But also, I mean, you cannot do without the issue of the same North constituency by-election, where Judge Kwesi has been re-elected again. People may disagree with that word, but the boycott, to some extent, that a minority is been able to carry through, these appears to be some major highlights of this. But to some extent, it does appear that both of them, as things are winding down now, there seems to be some understanding that's been able to come. But the issues are still pending in court. The minority says they are not backing down on the plans that they intend to cross.
Komla Kluche, pleasure talking to you. Komla Kluche is a parliamentary correspondent there. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. My name is Noble Crosby. We'll go for a quick break. We're back with more stories. Please stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
After a beautiful unveiling of this year's 16 regional representatives of Ghana's Most Beautiful, the contestants are faced with their very first task of storytelling. They will embrace the age-old tradition of storytelling, where every word carries the potential to transport us to new realms of enchantment. In this quest for narrative brilliance, our contestants have not only prepared stories that tug at their heartstrings, but also stories that ignite the spark of inspiration. Join us from the studios of TV3 this Sunday at 8 p.m. Keep your contestants in the competition by dialing *713*13# or download the TV3 reality app to vote.
GMB 2023 is sponsored by Gino Tomato Mix, GTP, Techno Common 20 Series, AT, Pepsodent Charcoal and Lemon Infused Formula and Pepsodent Natural Herbal Formula, Geisha Moringa and Geisha Black Soup, Key Soup, Bell Pack Tissues, Sankofa Natural Spices, Vitamilk, Deluxe Acrylic Paint, Nescofa Blood Tonic, Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil, Enapa Foods, Freedom from Casapreco, Frutelli Calipo, Duffy's Health and Beauty, Obuasi Bitters, Nubuna Womwankasa, Dragnet, Top Choco, Global Wings Travel and Tour.
Makeup was done by House of Tara.
It's the annual culinary competition between SHS institutions here in Ghana. We are done with Group A. This week is the turn of Group B.
It's a war because your school fee could. Let's go back and yakasa.
Oswa. Yahweh. Oswa. Yahweh. Kobo is shining. Oh, yes. Kobo is shining. Oh, yes.
Zimpa.
Yes,
good name.
It's better than Rachel.
Good name.
It's better than Rachel.
You close it. Let me.
The roof is on fire.
We're here to face the heat in the kitchen. Who makes their school proud? Join us this Sunday. My name is Cookie. It is Kitchen Wars Season 2.
Kitchen Wars Season 2 shows Sundays at 5 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
Sponsored by Gino Tomato Mix.
And Napa Foods. Say Napa. Enye Ono Soko.
PGL.
Are you ready to win solid cash every day with Cash Out? Be a proud winner of lots of cash simply by watching or listening to any of Media General stations. That's right, you are being rewarded for your loyalty. Tune in to all Media General brands. TV3, 3FM 92.7, Onia TV, Onia FM 95.1, all in Accra, Akuma FM 87.9 in Kumasi, and Connect FM 97.1 in Takoradi. To enter the Cash Out raffle on your favorite Media General station, just dial *439#. Follow the prompt and pick your favorite platform to enter. Voila! You are now eligible to become one of the 10 lucky winners of a cool cash prize. Remember, this is every day, all day on your favorite Media General station. Cash out and win big! This is in partnership with Radio Entertainment Limited. This promo is regulated by the National Lottery Authority on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply.
10 valiant men, all poised to battle for their bragging right.
Old wine is sage, improves as time goes on. The stars have aligned for us in this moment. Our time is now. We did not come to first hour shows. We came with our own. Fresh power, phenomenal strength, new and never seen before.
Who takes the title? Ghana's Strongest, the power to do.
Catch the new season of Ghana's Strongest Sunday at 4 p.m. only on TV3. Ghana's Strongest is powered by Gasem, the nation builder. Brought to you by Mixi Choco, Channel Hot,
Deluxy Acrylic Paint,
Drugnet.
Welcome back to the program. Business News is up next. Michael Obodu will join us for all the latest in business. Michael, good to see you.
Same here, Chris.
So the cylinder recirculation is in the news again?
Yes, the NPA has announced that the policy will take effect, the first phase of the policy will take effect from September.
Over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Welcome to the business segment on Midday Live. My name is Michael Obodu. Phase 1 of the reviewed cylinder recirculation policy will take effect from September this year. The program will run concurrently with the already existing LPG retail system, which will be phased out progressively. The Deputy CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, Perry Curtis Okujeto, in a media engagement stated that already 4 bottling stations are set to commence operations to meet demand under the program.
Currently, our monthly consumption of LPG is about 30,000 metric tons. If you put that into the math, 80,000, if our bottling plants are able to produce 80,000 cylinders per day, if you calculate that per the current demand, we need to feed the system about 50,000 cylinders a day. So the capacity is enough, and we think that at full implementation, this is just the beginning. We've issued 8 licenses. We have 4 bottling plants that are currently being constructed. We're looking to have more bottling plants come up, and the capacity is going to increase. We ourselves are targeting to increase by 50% by 2030. So the issue is starting from September and then growing the value chain as we go along.
Meanwhile, the LPG Marketers Association is cautioning the National Petroleum Authority against any attempt to render its members redundant with the introduction of the new module. Vice President of the association, Gabriel Kumi, is however demanding compensation for members that will be affected.
We have existing stations which has licenses from over 7 or 8 constitutionally mandated bodies, including MPA, to operate. If you want to implement the policy per the way MPA wanted to implement it initially, what it would have meant was that our tanks, our dispensers, our motors, our equipment that we are currently using at the stations were going to be rendered redundant. And that was our beef. Either if you want to implement it in that form, you either compensate us before going ahead to do it in that form. Our second option to them was that if you can't compensate that, then you give us time to run the system side by side so that the loans we have taken from the banks to purchase these items, these equipment, we can have time to use those equipment and pay off our loans and gradually shift to the system that you want us to shift to.
Now, ratings agency Fitch has revealed that the banking sector's capitalization has been significantly weakened as a result of the large losses imposed on bondholders under the domestic debt exchange program. According to the UK-based firm, the restructuring of outstanding sovereign debt and impending loan quality problems will add to capital pressures. The following Business News Desk report has more.
The UK-based firm had earlier said that Ghanaian banks' capital will still weaken significantly as a result of Ghana's sovereign domestic debt restructuring. Fitch estimates the current account deficit will narrow to 0.8% of gross domestic product in 2023 from 2.1% in 2022, supported by suspension of external debt service and improved terms of trade. In 2024 and 2025, the current account deficit should remain moderate at 2.1% and 1.9% of GDP, respectively. This, it says, is supported by suspension of external debt service and improved terms of trade. In 2024 and 2025, the capital account deficit is said should remain moderate. According to Fitch, a reduced current account deficit, together with international financial institutions' disbursements and external debt restructuring, should enable accumulation of reserves over 2023 to 2025, reaching 2.8 months of current external payments by 2025 from 1.7 months of 2022.
Well, that will be all for the business segment here on Midday Live. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Thank you for watching. As always, please stay safe. Up next, the sports.
It's the annual culinary competition between SHS institutions here in Ghana. We are done with Group A. This week is the turn of Group B.
It's a war because your school fee cook. Let's go back and yakasa.
Oswa. Nyawe. Oswa. Nyawe. Kobo is shining. Oh yes. Kobo is shining. Oh yes.
Zimpa.
Yes,
good name.
It's better than Rachel.
Good name.
It's better than Rachel.
You close it. Let me.
The roof is on fire. Open fire service.
We'll be represented here to face the heat in the kitchen. Who makes their school proud? Join us this Sunday. My name is Cookie. It is Kitchen Wars Season 2.
Kitchen Wars Season 2 shows Sundays at 5 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
Sponsored by Gino Tomato Mix.
And Napa Foods. Say Napa. Enye ono soko.
PGL.
10 valiant men, all poised to battle for their bragging right.
Old wine is sage, improves as time goes on. The stars have aligned for us in this moment. Our time is now. We did not come to first hour shows. We came with our own. Fresh power, phenomenal strength, new and never seen before.
Who takes the title? Ghana's Strongest, the power to do.
Catch the new season of Ghana's Strongest Sunday at 4 p.m. only on TV3. Ghana's Strongest is powered by Gasem, the nation builder. Brought to you by Mixi Choco, Channel Hot,
Deluxe acrylic paint.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Sports News is up next, and we'll get the latest from Oreku and Oreku. What's in the package?
And so we'll be looking at the Women's World Cup. 3 African countries are in the round of 16, which has never happened before.
Yeah. Anyways.
So we'll be starting off with the latest African country to reach the last 16 of the ongoing Women's World Cup, and that's Morocco, because on their debut, they've reached the round of 16 after beating Colombia, although the South Americans also progress as Group H winners. Germany's failure to beat South Korea means Morocco are now into the knockout stages as runners-up. Anissa Lamari scored the only goal via a rebound after captain Ghislaine Shabak's penalty was saved. Morocco, who lost 6-0 to the Germans in their opening game before successive wins, will face France in Adelaide next. Colombia, who earned 2 wins in their first 2 matches, would finish above Morocco on goal difference and play Jamaica in Melbourne earlier on August 8. And so Morocco joined Nigeria and South Africa, 3 African countries in the round of 16 stage of the Women's World Cup. First time that has ever happened. But still, while Jamaica have dominated the news in the World Cup after qualifying to the knockout round ahead of Brazil, is a remarkable success story for the Reggae Girls, who have been disbanded by the Jamaican Football Federation twice in the last 15 years, but still fought tooth and nail for funding to keep playing. Jamaica made history by reaching the knockout stages of the FIFA Women's World Cup for the first time ever. The Caribbean side were placed in a group alongside giants France and Brazil and ended up not conceding in the group stages. However, this wouldn't have been possible without the smart thinking of a concerned citizen. Jamaica's preparations for the Mundial had hit a roadblock and seemed so uncertain with the lack of funds. Players such as Chaina Matthews and Captain Khadija Shaw publicly demanded solutions from the Jamaican Football Federation. However, their cries were ignored. With time running out, a GoFundMe titled Reggae Girls Rise Up was set up by Sandra Phillips Bauer, the mother of midfielder Havana Solon. This initiative raised $50,000 and led to another crowd-raising campaign set up by the Reggae Girls Foundation, which also raised more than $45,000. These efforts made the World Cup dream possible, as the team used the funds for their training camp, travel, food, staff support, and even compensation. After their remarkable achievement of reaching the knockout round,
taking their bags for home, and it's maybe the end of Marta's glittering career. Brazil collapse in tears of disappointment. They can't believe it. They dominated.
Each of these players will receive $60,000 directly from FIFA. What could have ended badly for the Reggae Girls turned into a fantasy, and they will hope to continue dreaming. Well, the Reggae Girls are smiling and their journey continues in the ongoing Women's World Cup. But let's do some more here, where Sandra Boakye hung her boots some few years ago and ventured into coaching. Now, it has been rewarding and stressful in equal measure, but she is undeterred in her pursuit for greatness on the sidelines. My colleague Emmanuel Owusu explores her coaching journey and how she started alongside the prospects as well.
Sandra Boakye's coaching career is one that began while she was still playing in 2007. Then, she was a star for Ghana's female youth team, the Black Princesses. Unplayable in her day, and it seemingly looks like she is on the touchlines as well after she led the Sims Senior High School to their first ever Ashanti Regional Boys Soccer Competition. It has been a fulfilling run so far in this regard. Before her, Sims had never gotten a sniff at the title. What inspired her to chase this dream?
Ghana here, when you're a female and you start doing something, people don't respect it. You know, when I was a child, my area, they saw me to be, I don't know how to put it. They just didn't respect what I was doing. They didn't see anything good in it.
Wow.
So, but at that time, you see boys, small boys following me, my slippers, and then when they see, even the way they will speak to you, they don't respect you when you are doing such. But I knew what I wanted.
As she continues to climb the ladder, her interest in the sport keeps growing. She has made piecemeal impact in the sport, but as a female coaching a men's team, there will be challenges.
Juvenile side, you're not going to repeat it up there because they already have it. So if we develop the young ones very well, when they get there, we are not going to.
Well, that's how we'll be wrapping up the sports segment here on Midday Live. You can get more of that Sandra Boakye story on our social media handles alongside other news items at 3 Sports GH. My name is Ori Kwampofo, and up next on the bulletin is entertainment with Noella.
Well, let's get to Noella Donko for some of the updates in entertainment. What's in the package this afternoon?
Well, we've got American singer in there. You know, there's this whole case about some of her female dancers, you know, reporting her filing a case. So we're going to look into that.
Anyways,
and some more stories here on Midday Live. My name is Noella Donko. Now, American musician Lizzo has been sued by 3 of her former dancers for alleged sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment, including instances where they were weight-shamed and pressured while at a strip club. Now, the complaint filed in Los Angeles Superior Court on Tuesday and obtained by CNN through an attorney for the plaintiffs, also named for her production company, Big Girl Big Touring Inc., as a person described as the dance cast captain as defendants in the suit. Now, among the claims outlined in the suit, one of the 3 plaintiffs said she was encouraged by the singer to take turns touching the nude performers while out at a club in Amsterdam's red light district while on tour in February. Now, Lizzo, however, has come out with a response. In the heartfelt, typed-out response, she described the past few days as gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. She concluded by saying, "I am hurt, but I will not let the good work I have done in the world be overshadowed by this. I want to thank everyone who has reached out in support to lift me up during this difficult time." Now to some more stories. Music producer and highly spiritual record label boss Kewa, in a conversation on 3FM, has revealed some of the sacrifices he has made in order to produce the hit songs we enjoy. Now, he also hinted of coming out with a new signature soon.
All this energy, I could sit 5 to 6 hours in the studio just recording. Yeah, 5. Sometimes I start working at 3 a.m. You know, just to feed Ghana with, you know, those bangers.
Classics, yeah.
3 a.m. throughout, I will not wake up. I will wake sometimes to about 8 p.m. in the studio. Just, you know, yeah. Sometimes my breakfast will be there, lunch will come and add supper, and no chop. Oh. You know, yeah, the passion for the job was too much.
Why is it gone?
Charlie, you know, by this job, you can't always be on top of your game.
Yes.
You know, it comes with time. Usually, you know. Now, when it comes to production, some of the things I want to do, I don't think I have the, like Kennedy Japon said,
Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment here on Midday Live. My name is Nwela Donko. Up next is international news.
People have been gathering at a square in the central Niamey, the capital of Niger, to show their support for last week's military coup. On the anniversary of the country's independence, a coalition of civil society organizations called for people to turn up to denounce the sanctions imposed by the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS. It says if President Mohamed Bazoum is not reinstated, it could use force. A sizable crowd of mostly young men had shown up at Independence Square. There are anti-French slogans and a few Russian flags. Despite this show of support for men who overthrew the president, many in Niger are against the coup. The leaders of Nigeria's main trade union federations have suspended a nationwide strike over the rising cost of living and agreed to further talks with the government. President Bola Tinubu's removal of the subsidy on the petrol price is at the heart of the issue. The unions had given the government until Wednesday to reverse the decision on the subsidy.
That's how we draw the curtains on Midday Live this afternoon. My name is Noble Crosby-Ann, and there's always more news on our website, 3news.com. On behalf of the TAP production team, thank you so much for watching the bulletin. We'll see you again some other time. Good afternoon. Bye-bye.